China has just imposed an immediate ban on all Apple devices by government officials. Apple's the largest company in the world, and 96% of their products are manufactured in China. Let me say this again. 96% of their products are manufactured in China. If you go to read the story, against the backdrop of the tensions between Beijing and Washington, the extension of a ban imposed for more than 2 years ago, signaling growing challenges in the U.S., which relies heavily on China for revenue growth and manufacturing. Staff in the 3 ministries and government bodies were told not to use iPhone at work, said the sources, who declined to be named due to their sensitivity of the situation. One of the sources said they had not yet been given a deadline to seize their iPhone. Apple and China's State Council Information Office, which handles media queries on behalf of the government, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. It was not immediately clear how widely the ban was being enforced, with a third source at one of the 3 ministries saying he still was using an iPhone and had not heard about the restriction. A fourth source at a Chinese regulatory body said they had not been explicitly banned, but were told they would be held responsible should any issue emerge with their use of their iPhone. And a fifth source said at another regulatory body said senior staff had 2 years ago already been required to swap their iPhones for locally made brands such as Huawei Technologies. What else do we have under 2020 Chinese? Okay, go a little lower, Rob, to see if there's anything else there. Can you do me a favor? Bloomberg on Thursday reported that China planned to broaden the ban. Bloomberg on Thursday reported that China planned to broaden the ban to state firms and agencies, citing sources. Let's see what Apple stock is doing based on this announcement. Did it do anything to Apple stock today? Go to Apple stock today. It's down 3.2%. Okay, Apple stock is down 3.2%, which 3.2% may not seem like a lot of money, but 3.2% is roughly $3 trillion. You got 10% would be $300 billion. 3% would be $30 billion loss today.
Pat, what is the reasoning behind why don't
Apple lost $30 billion today?
They lost the Snapchat.
They got to get a hold of Hillary.
They lost a Snapchat today.
Oh wow, that's hilarious.
Yeah, they lost the Snapchat.
Pat, what do you think? What do you think's behind the not using a phone that's made in that country? Is it for security? Are they watching you? Are you on the internet? Are you what?
There's a lot of different things going on here. One, Tim Cook slowly moved 25% of his structure to India, like to manufacturing he wanted to do in India. And then even Apple ended up having some friction with India. If you go back and, Rob, type in Tim Cook, Apple, India, there was some problems there, manufacturing, that they're going back and forth. And so when you say you're moving gradually some of your business outside of China, China's sitting there saying, wait a minute.
Decoupling.
All these years we gave you all this business. Now you want to move out to a different place? What are you doing? But the reality of it is Tim Cook has to do this, and he has to do it in such a subtle, patient way, knowing if there is a man, a CEO in the world that's walking on eggshells and has been walking on eggshells for the last 2 years, it's Tim Cook. Imagine you're a $3 trillion company, all eyes on you, okay? You're trying to move 96% of your manufacturing is made in China. After COVID, China showed how much control they had around the world, the control with the chips. And you're like, hey, guys, we have to slowly, don't tell anybody, we got to move this out. How are we going to do this 96% to a different place?
God.
I don't know, but we have to do it, and we have to do it slowly. So
Break
guess
up
what?
with the cycle.
Yeah.
By the way, just something crazy to be thinking about. Do you know the new iPhone is coming out in the next couple weeks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it's going to be?
I heard it's more than a MacBook
Is it
Pro.
1,000?
No. Put the new iPhone price.
You know, right?
Oh, you heard about this, right?
I heard.
It's going to be the most expensive iPhone ever.
It's like 11.
It's going to be the most expensive iPhone ever. If you can just find that, the most recent story, Rob, on how much they're selling it at. There's stories of it. Don't go to stores. Go to stories. Go to news. Go to news all the way at the top. Yeah, it's not showing you anything. Okay.
How much?
So
What's the average price?
I listen. The stories I've heard is 35% more than it usually is. That's what I've heard. And I may be wrong, but I've heard it's going to be pretty high. And I don't know if this has anything to do with that.
Scroll down a little, maybe.
Go a little lower.
A little lower, right there.
iPhone 15 will be starting at
$13.
$799.
That's what I heard. I heard the 15
$899.
Pro was
Yo, Pat, you might like
15 Pro Max starts at $1,300, and it can go as high as $2,000.
What? I'd rather get a computer. You'd
Yeah.
rather get a MacBook than
But you have to also realize, if Apple is having to move this stuff out, they don't have a choice but to have to raise prices. So a lot of people want this thing to be made in America. We can make it in America for 3 times the price. You okay with that?
$4,000 phone in your. Yeah.
Well, by the way, there's another real quick one here on India. So not only do they want to move to India so that they can manufacture and they can balance the risk of Chinese manufacture and things like that, like a conservative president putting tariffs and things like that. So Tim Cook's trying to do that. But what is Tim Cook's market share today in India?
That's a very good point.
question.
5.1%. It is 95% Android. So if you want to keep growing, you have to open new markets and you have to find new consumers. And there's a big stack of them sitting in India. So they want to make the phones there, and they also want to break open into the India market and have more success with it.
There's only one big problem with India, okay?
What?
India is not China. Let me explain what I mean by this. India is one of the only big countries in the world that's banned TikTok. India's banned 100 Chinese apps in India. India doesn't give a shit about America or China. They're not playing the card of being controlled and being bought. They've seen what happened to other places. They do not. The benefit India has is they're 10 years behind China, right? Whether it's with their roads, whether it's with their internet, whether it's with their broadband. Their broadband sucks, by the way, in India, and they don't have it in a lot of different markets. Infrastructure is a mess over there, right? Schooling, all of that. Hospitals, airports, ports, period. They have a lot of problems. But the benefit of being 10 years behind is gives you what?
Growth.
You get to see case study of all the mistakes they made, and you get to see the relationship between China and U.S. to say, look, those are 19 mistakes China made. Those are 17 mistakes U.S. made. Guys, we're not going to be doing this because we do not want to be in control like America, and we don't want to be losing trust around the world like China did. Let's move a little bit more strategically. That's the edge India, I believe, has.
And then don't forget, India is the largest democracy in the world under Modi, right? And everything they're doing. China is still CCP, communism, state-run capitalism, however you want to put it. Back to the Tim Cook Apple thing. I don't know. What kind of responsibility do you take for moving 97% of your manufacturing over to a communist country so you can get some cheap child labor? Respect. But I don't know. There's some level of accountability has to pay for it. And you talked about we got to quietly move things out to India. They're well aware. They're watching everything.
Yeah, the elephant's leaving the room.
Spy balloon.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love this. I love this insider article. It says China may now never take over the U.S. crown as the world's largest economy. So that's big news. Ever since we've been focusing on the China issue, ever since we started the podcast, 2020, I've been like, holy shit, China, they're coming for us. China 2025, China 2030, they're coming for us. But COVID has basically allowed the world to be like, what's really going on in China right now?
Good.
And what have we seen? Tourism has plummeted. Investments in the country has plummeted. Businesses are slowly, stealthily moving out of there. But the biggest thing that China has lost is trust. The world don't trust you, Xi Jinping. The world is fully aware of what you got going on now. And now, whether it's stealthily or openly, people are like, I'm getting the hell out of this place.
But let me address the first question, which is a very valid question you brought up on Tim Cook. It is on Tim Cook to have the answer to the question, why is 96% of your manufacturing for Apple being done in China? Yeah. Very fair question. Okay. His comeback, I don't know what his answer is going to be. I'm not going to speak on his behalf, but this is what I would be thinking. I would say when we first started doing business with China, China didn't have the kind of lack of trust in the world that they do today. What did you want me to do? We've been doing business with China for many, many years. And all of a sudden, we're so in too deep because we were able to make nice margins, deliver the product for people. We were able to get, as many iPhones that people wanted to order. No other country could move this fast, not including America, not including this at the price that you want, and for us to get our margins. So when you're in too deep in a relationship like that, in today's economy, let's just say Tim is starting Apple today and Steve Jobs just came out with the iPhone today or the iPod today or the iTouch today, whatever the new product is. He's probably in today's climate not signing a manufacturing deal with China. But this is a relationship that's been going on for decades with China, way before they were a scary empire on what they did with COVID.
Well, I totally understand
that's that point.
I understand that. If I may respond. He was well aware that it's still a communist country, even if they were, had certain capitalist tendencies. He was well aware. But I don't know, maybe I'm just oversimplifying this. If I have an investment portfolio, if I'm starting a company, or if I'm my own personal investment portfolio, I have 60% domestic stocks, I have 25% international, I have 5% bonds, I'm putting 2% in crypto. I'm going to diversify. So just God forbid the US economy goes down or the Chinese economy goes down, what there's going to be other asset classes that go up. To go in, I don't know if it's 96 or 97%, whatever it is, that is the vast majority of your manufacturing.
That's not how business works, bro. That's not.
Well, then teach me.
No, it's not. No, you're asking the right question. This is when the podcast gets exciting, when we're having these types of exchanges, right? So I just Googled when Apple started doing business with China. Okay, so check this out.
Probably
Rob,
1990.
No, it's 2001, believe it or not. I thought it was further back, right?
Yeah.
So if you Google, Rob, when did Apple start doing business with China? That's exactly the words. It'll come up. In 2001, Apple brokered a partnership with China. Apple brokered a deal with China. The government poured billions of dollars into a new infrastructure for Apple, building factories, paving new roads, constructing housing for Apple workers. Kate Whitehead helped oversee Apple's operations in China. Now, watch this. When did Steve Jobs die?
Probably right around then.
Nope, he died in 2011, 10 years later.
Oh, really?
Okay. Wow. Yeah, so meaning
it's
none
only
of
been 10 years or 12 years since.
Yeah, so the point is, this is under Steve Jobs. When you're in China and Steve, everybody thought China was the way to go back in the days. China was like the future frontier. Yeah. You know, Richard Nixon brokers the deal.
Nixon.
Everything is good. We're all doing business. Ray Dalio's hardcore pro-China. One of the interviews I did with Ray Dalio, we talked about China. Was not the friendliest interview.
No, it was very uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable talking about China because he was defending China. And I'm like, wait a minute, America first over China. But the moral of the story is when you're in too deep like that. And by the way, when did they launch iPhone? What year did they launch iPhone? What year was iPhone launched? I'm actually curious.
2007?
2004.
I don't know. 07? Okay.
7? Okay.
So 2007 iPhone is launched.
Wow.
You sign a deal with China in 01. 2011, Jobs dies. You know, Tim Cook comes in 2011, 2012. You know, you're kind of coming in and seeing the numbers, and then all of a sudden, now you're today. Tim Cook has a very hard job today.
So what you're saying is it's not on Cook, it was on Jobs, and now Cook it's his deal, is responsibility to unwind.
I don't think it's on anybody.
On.
I mean, we have an insurance company that we're doing all these policies, right? So yesterday we're having a conversation with one of our carriers right now that we've given so much business to that now it's kind of like, you know, you have to make the adjustments where somebody doesn't have that much market share. 96 is very scary, very, very scary. I very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to have 96%
imagine if
coming from one place.
96% of PHP's business went to
That's why I'm saying it.
National Life, one carrier.
This is a great conversation to have, is what I'm saying to you. It's a very good conversation to have right now.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.